I get asked a lot about how old coffee should be. There's this trend, it's not even a new trend, it's been around since we've been in coffee. I probably was a proponent of talking this way about coffee when we began, that coffee is old if it's like 4 weeks old, but it's not. It's not old. So I decided to do a test, a fun test. So for this test, I did 4 different coffees. We've got one that was stored in this airtight, dark, kept at room temperature container. One in an open jar that sat up high under the lights. One in a sealed jar, but with light coming through, also just kind of at an ambient room temperature on the counter. And then the last one with the freezer. So in darkness, but frozen. I'm gonna use the Porlex grinder today. There is a grinder review I've shot. I don't think I've edited it yet. Still waiting to be edited. That will be out soon, but that's a side note. 10 grams ought to be a good measure of these. Funny, these are nice. They look good on the shelf. People claim they're airtight. I don't really get that. I don't get how that's airtight. There's still oxygen in there when you put the beans in. So it's not like it's been vacated of all the oxygen. But it's a great little canister for holding coffee. You can put about 1 pound in it. And I like to keep, I usually bring 2 pounds at home at a time. I drink a lot of coffee at home. So usually I have about 1 pound in my grinder hopper and another pound is back up here. All right, 10 grams from each. That smells good. What we're drinking today is Peru. Peru is a really nice crop that we've gotten the last couple of years. It's really user-friendly. We take it to a nice kind of medium roast, very middle ground. It is not an extravagant coffee. It's not flashy. It's just really solid. It always makes a good, robust cup that's satisfying. It's not too thin. It's not dark or oily. It's just very naturally sweet, naturally creamy, easy drinking. And I thought it would be a good one to test for a base middle ground. So again, I've got freezer, jar, room temp, sealed, but exposed to sunlight, ambient temp. I've got open up high under lights, and I've got dark, sealed, cool place. I've got all my coffees ground here. I'm gonna go through and kind of smell each of them and see what initial impressions are with the smell. And then I'll move on to flavor. I kind of shake them. Kind of gets the smell moving around the cup. So my initial impression is I'm surprised. Probably the most fragrant of them all are these two, which would be freezer and dark sealed container. The freezer one surprises me there. I kind of expected it to not, I don't know why. People tell you it picks up the smell of the freezer. Maybe if you had like really stinky stuff in your freezer, it does that. I don't know. It smells great though. This one doesn't smell bad. It just smells not as much. I'm gonna add water. It's about 200 degrees. Gonna give it about 4 minutes while I kind of sit and smell. It's a great time to just assess the smell of the coffees, contemplate life, think about my day. So let's give it an initial smell. Okay, initial thoughts. I maybe should have done this blind. I didn't though, it's too late, we're already in this. That one does not have as much smell. Now, Now that surprised me because dry grind, I could smell that one pretty well. This one has kind of a slightly brighter smell to it. It smells a little bit more vibrant, maybe more akin to what it probably smelled like sooner after it was roasted. This one surprises me. This was open, up high under the lights, fully exposed to air, just sitting out in the open, just like a country bumpkin. And it smells great. Surprised by this one. I thought this was going to be my least favorite of all of them. That one smells good. Super solid. Smells how it definitely should. I gotta get a little hot water in here. Had some minutes pass. Smelled through several times. None of these smells bad. Some of them I'm not smelling as much from as others, but all of them smell good. This one that was sat at just ambient temp in a sealed but clear jar probably smells the least of all of them, but none of them have a bad smell. Nothing has gone bad. This one has a brightness to it that I like. This is the one I'm drawn most to. So I'm gonna clear off the grinds. All right, now for the cupping. As it cools, the flavors will kind of change, just like a cup of coffee would. So I always like to cup right when it's still very hot, and I kind of keep going through it for a few minutes until it's cooled down a little bit. Your taste buds can pick up quite a bit, maybe more or just different at lower temps. Interesting. Little surprising. Not totally surprising though. My favorite is definitely this one. The sealed dark room temp container. I wish I had done it blind, but I didn't. But this one has the most body to it. It tastes great. It tastes exactly like I would hope it would. The freezer surprised me. I didn't expect, I thought freezer would come in last place, honestly. I've been biased against freezer storage for a long time. This one surprised me. Freezer held up. Seems to be doing just fine. Loses maybe just a touch of the vibrancy to first place, but it's still pretty solid. Not a lot of difference between these two. The open under the lights and the just kind of sitting on the counter in a clear jar. I can't possibly think of what indirect sun, I don't have any sun that comes through to hit this jar where it was sitting. So short of temperature change and exposure to open air, but still this one still has air in it. I don't think there's a huge difference there. And flavor-wise, there's not a huge difference there. Whereas these two, I can say notably, I think they taste better. These two taste pretty much the same, which again surprises me. In my mind, I was prepared to think that the open up under the lights was going to be the worst of all of them. I don't know why. That's what my brain thought. But honestly, pretty much the same. So I'd put these in third. I'd put this freezer in second. I put the dark canister in first place. Do I think any of them are bad? No, none of them are bad. I think that when they were probably 2-3 weeks old, they had a bit more vibrancy for sure. Probably till about a month is what I'm finding. But I think the big takeaway is that coffee can be a couple months old and just be fine. If you're buying from a specialty roaster, I know black coffee, we pretty much get it out the door the day after it's roasted. Sometimes the day of roasting, usually the day after. And that is really fresh coffee. The world has never experienced coffee that fresh except in this modern era, at least at scale. I'm sure in the past, local roasters were getting it out the same day. Many still are. But in terms of large numbers of produced pounds, there's never been a better time to be drinking specialty coffee than right now. Again, it goes back to the beans. Good quality beans will get you good coffee, and well roasted quality beans can sit on the shelf for several weeks and still bring you a good cup. The bag, if it's sealed, it's trapping in some of those off gases, which has probably helped preserving some of that flavor in there. I think the takeaway is don't be too pretentious about the age of your coffee, because it's probably still great. This one has been a fun experiment. My family's going to be excited to free up a little space. I tend to have multiple storage things going. I still have a few others I'm playing with to get older. This guy's probably going to go back in the freezer for a bit. I just want to see what it does in the next couple months. So that's the takeaway from the day. A dark, sealed, room temperature storage for the win. There we go. Yeah. These two have probably the lighter of the body between them all. Somehow, be it the cold temp or the dark and sealed, they maintained a little more body. I don't know why. There we go.